Opportunity zones is relatively new. Let's say that content is somewhat evergreen. So those videos could be used for 2 or 3 years. You could constantly be using those. All those distribution mechanisms you could use for the next 2 or 3 years because the content is still valid.
You're listening to the Legal Mastermind podcast with your hosts, Ryan Klein and Chase Williams, the go-to podcast for learning from the experts in the legal community about effective ways to grow and manage your law firm.
Welcome to another episode of the Legal Mastermind podcast. This is your co-host, Ryan Klein. As always, I have with me Chase Williams. Hey, Chase.
Hey, Ryan. How are you?
I'm doing great. Today we have the pleasure of speaking about video production in the legal industry. Video production is something that we've wanted to discuss for quite some time. I know that a lot of our listeners are interested, and so that's why we brought on an expert in video production, Mr. Robert Weiss. Mr. Robert Weiss is the founder or the protector of the vision.
Founder and protector of the vision. Yeah.
Robert Weiss is the protector of the vision and also the founder of Multivision Digital. You're out of New York City, I believe?
That's correct.
Very cool. And a little bit about you. I see here that you've had over 14 years background in internet marketing, so you definitely tie that into video production. And voiced by one client, you are the perpetual source of ideas. So we definitely want to hear some of the reasons that you are the perpetual source of ideas today.
Thank you for having me, and for whomever's listening, thank you for listening.
Absolutely. So let's start with a little bit of the business angle. I think that the topic and the core focus of this, a well-executed business video content strategy will generate new business opportunities. So why don't we start there?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about. That's what everybody's looking for. And I think one of the points that we spend a lot of time banging our heads against the wall when it comes to lawyers and professional services is they're like, oh, we don't really need video, or we're not doing video because we don't need it. What they don't understand is that video just achieves all the different business objectives that they're currently working on, but better, right? Because they do thought leadership, they blog, content marketing, they go to events and are on panels to pontificate about the different things that they do and provide information and valuable insights to potential clients. And that's what video does. It does all of that. And that's what I guess they need to see, first of all, that, what you said, a well-executed and thoughtful video plan that is integrated into their marketing communications will generate new business.
I mean, I think a lot of people are scared to get into video or don't know where to start. Mm-hmm. And from how we've worked with lawyers in the industry, I'm sure you have a similar situation. Is once you sort of take that leap, it's really not that difficult. What are the biggest myths or maybe misconceptions around video production?
We've got a saying that say that a year from now, you're going to be glad you got started today. Because, it's hard to do. It's hard to get into. If whoever's listening, if they were around when websites first started or email marketing first started or search engine optimization or PPC first started, it was hard to do. And they probably took a while to adopt those digital marketing technologies, but they're all doing it now. So that's the adoption of video. So 5 years from now, 7 years from now, 10 years from now, everybody who is listening to this is going to be doing video. And not just one video, but video on a consistent basis every year, which is different from one firm to the next, but they will do consistent video. The question is, when do you get started? When do you start to learn about that and get to a point where it works for you? I think that's the challenge. Now, going to the myths part, one of the big myths is about cost, like, video is too expensive. And it certainly can be, but it's up to every firm to give a video production company like ours an appropriate budget to achieve their objectives. And in most cases, if you start off on the low end with, let's say, $5,000, and that could go all the way up to 15, 20, 30, or 40, that's going to at least do something. It's going to move the needle a little bit, right? Now, the question is, what kind of video is that? Which goes into one of the tips we have is, what's the best video for your business? You know, the answer is, it depends on your business objectives. If a firm is going into cannabis, there's a lot of firms that are going into the cannabis industry now. Should they do a video on healthcare? Should they do a firm corporate overview video? Or should they double down on their investment in cannabis and do a thought leadership series on cannabis, or a practice area marketing video around cannabis, right? So when you start to think about that investment, look at your business objectives, and then let that business objective determine the scope of the project, whether you need one video or, like with thought leadership, you need many videos. So that $5,000 might not be appropriate for a series of thought leadership.
So when you're talking about a video content strategy, I would imagine that could be pretty comprehensive. So when you're going in and doing this kind of campaign for a law firm, are you doing a firm overview? Are you doing attorney bios? Having attorneys answer specific questions is a little bit of everything? Or do you kind of just start with one in one direction?
We start with one of those, which again goes back to the question of what is your business strategy, or what is the objective that you currently have in front of you. And that will determine what type of video content to create. But if you think forward 3-4 years from now, all of those things from a practice area video to bios to thought leadership, across every practice area, you should have all of those videos. But where do you get started, and where do you build your roadmap? So all of those pieces of the puzzle across marketing, case studies, thought leadership, social media, like all those kind of pegs are filled with video. It's hard to do at one time.
If someone wants to get their feet wet, what would be your recommendation on the first, I guess, video series?
Thought leadership videos, right? Because that allows a firm like mine to come in for a day or a half a day and give a firm back multiple videos. So they can literally have, let's go into that cannabis example, a partner or two in the cannabis industry, a partner or two in real estate, a partner or two in bankruptcy, all come in and do a video or two. So their firm now has 7 or 8 videos that they can play with across different industry segments. So their investment goes a lot farther and a lot wider versus coming in and doing a firm overview video.
So mostly are lawyers answering questions? Are they sort of just creating quick credibility around what their focus is and past case results? What type of content's in this thought leadership?
It's very similar to what blogs are. Right? They're not selling their firms. They're not necessarily talking about cases, although they might reference a case, but they're really providing that information about a topic. A year or so ago, opportunity zones were really hot with lawyers because there was a new law that was passed. Everybody and their brother was going into it. So a lot of firms created documents about opportunity zones. They went to speaking engagements. They blogged about opportunity zones. These pieces of content were not necessarily selling. They were providing information and giving examples to potential clients about what to do and what not to do, and maybe some of the roadblocks and pitfalls that they might encounter if they were going into opportunity zones. So video should just be that message, but now you have somebody on camera actually providing that message where somebody gets to understand who they are as a person, their bedside manner, how they speak, how they dress. And that's why video works so well. Going back to the first thing that we said is, video achieves and aims to achieve the same exact marketing objectives of what lawyers are doing now, just in a better way. Because it's digital, it's shareable, it's there, accessible at any time, and they can watch it over and over and over again. and get to know this person.
I know we've worked with a couple of lawyers giving suggestions on, how to present themselves, how to make these thought leadership videos. And one of the things that I have for you, as far as best practices go, one of the questions I have for you is it better to have this being shot in the lawyer's office, or is it better to go in front of the courthouse, or maybe in front of like a well-known structure at the city? Like what's the best practices there?
Definitely in their office where it's controlled, right? Here in the city, if you go in front of the courthouse, I guarantee you're going to have people walking, sirens going off, banging, who knows, right? And that doesn't make for good audio, right? Now, if you're doing a firm overview video, right, there's something called B-roll, which is, as somebody is talking, you're seeing visuals over that video, right? To have somebody walking up the steps to the courthouse, engaging with a client, signing a document, talking on the phone, right? That's good visuals. But is that necessarily good visuals when somebody is going to this piece of content to find out about opportunity zones and the only thing they want is an answer to a question? So again, it depends on the type of video and the project itself that determines the scope and, another half a day of shooting to get enough content for that video. If I could say one more thing about that,
Yep.
It's always, people are going to eventually show up at their office, and it's good to have the atmosphere and the environment of their office, to be in their office.
I agree with that. I
Yeah.
mean, the good thing about the overview video, besides feeling comfortable with the lawyer that they might meet in person, is also seeing the environment that they might enter into to meet that lawyer. So that familiarity, establishing that, I agree with that. I think that makes sense for filming in the office. So a little bit more about the resistance angle and some of the things I've talked to lawyers about when they were weighing their options with video production. Because as you mentioned, from a marketing standpoint, it could be relatively more expensive, some things to do. It may not be. But some lawyers do say, I'm going to record these great videos, maybe about me answering questions, the thought leadership. Have lawyers come to you and been like, it seems like a lot for just a video to be on my homepage or on a blog? And do you come back and say, no, it's much more than that. It's going to be leveraged in so many ways. How do you kind of approach that angle to the resistance?
So in the adoption of video, right, people are just really starting to open up their purse strings with that, and they're not really starting to allocate dollars for marketing of that video, right? Some of the things that we ask early on when we're talking with our clients is, great, you've got your video or videos, they're awesome, you love them, everybody in your firm loves them, what do you do with them? And social media is not an answer because everybody says social media as the answer. And then they just stop. And that's, part of our service, our strategy service and, our distribution service is making the most out of that video. We have something called a video first strategy. And if we can do a selfless plug here on our website, multivisiondigital.com, there's a tips page, which has lots of good tips there for any marketer or business owner. But one of those is video first. That basically says, take that video and start to derive all the ancillary content that you need from a blog post, social media posts, emails, press releases that you can send out. You could give them to industry publications. Again, thinking about, the cannabis, how many industry cannabis news sites are there, blogs that would love a series of videos from an established lawyer that gives their clients, their community, just valuable insights and information about cannabis law, what they should and should not be doing, or pitfalls to look out for, roadblocks ahead, right? They would love that. So having that thoughtful strategy before the cameras go on helps those clients to say, you know what, video was a good investment. It wasn't expensive. It achieved the marketing objectives that we aim for. Let's do it again. We've got a big firm. Cannabis is one of our practice areas. Let's do the same thing in real estate. And then when we get that done, Then we're going to do the same thing in litigation. Then we're going to come back next year to cannabis again because laws are going to change.
Sounds like you're shooting a handful of cannabis videos.
Well, we know that that's a big area where a lot of law firms, and accounting firms, by the way, and other consulting firms are dipping their toe in the water. They're trying to gain market share. Mm-hmm. It's a huge opportunity. They're all developing these practices. Nobody really has any establishment yet, but they're all trying to stake their claim. And thought leadership is a way to do that. They show up at these events and they're up on stage. That's thought leadership. And what we're saying is video does that more effectively because it has a wider reach, it has a longer shelf life, and you can use it across multiple distribution channels.
You just said that the answer is not social media. So obviously the lawyers are going to be recording thought leadership videos. The videos are going on their website. Where else can these videos go?
Well, I'm not sure that it's a go, but it's what is the strategy to distribution? Even on a website, there's so many places they can go on a website. Let's just go back to the cannabis example, or I can go opportunity zones as a topic. Let's say a lawyer does 3 videos on opportunity zones. That's 3 videos. That means there's 3 blogs, 3 blog pages that can be keyword friendly, that can be posted. Then those 3 videos can go on a bio page. There could be a video library page on a site. Those 3 videos, you can do a press release on that series of videos. You could go to an accounting organization. You can go to a real estate publication and get them to utilize those videos, to provide that information to their constituents. And then from a social media standpoint, you could take each one of those videos and then chop them up into, depends on the video, but multiple mini videos, or you can use images, do screenshots of those videos, do a social media tag, so you constantly drive traffic back to that blog page, to that law firm, what have you. Then let's say that law firm now sponsors an event, a real estate, and we have many of them here in the city that lawyers sponsor. Instead of providing a piece of paper, they could create a piece of paper that says, learn everything about opportunity zones, and do a screen, like a capture of all those 3 videos, and say, go to this page to learn about opportunity zones, right? So they're actually utilizing paper at an event to drive traffic back to that web page or blog or what have you about the topic.
I love all this because it's one of my favorite things in the world, which is repurposing. And and I can also see why they call you the source of ideas now. Because that alone, if that was any sort of takeaway about what the potential of video being repurposed or utilized to its fullest extent, that'd definitely be it.
And I'll give one more kind of nail in the coffin to use video is that opportunity zones is relatively new. Let's say that content is somewhat evergreen, so those videos could be used for 2 or 3 years. So you could constantly be using those. All those distribution mechanisms you could use for the next 2 or 3 years because the content is still valid.
I see that you have people on your team that are also involved with storytelling and even doing graphics and motion graphics on videos. Is there anything that you can kind of elaborate on how that might apply to videos done by lawyers?
Let's talk with the graphics, then we go to storytelling. So like lower thirds, animated logos, things that take a regular video and just kind of make it nicer. Like you can see that somebody invested a little bit more money. Again, take that $5,000 and you want motion graphics or an animated logo or when your name appears on the bottom. And then if it's thought leadership and there's charts and graphs, you can have a static chart, a static graph, or you can push emotion to that. It adds more value to the video because video is all about motion, right? It's more visually appealing. And then storytelling, going back to the opportunity zones, right? Is that really a story, right? It's a lawyer talking about a specific issue, providing information. And that comes with some planning. There's definitely a professional services aspect to video production that a lot of people don't understand, which is getting the partner ready to talk. But it's not really a story. I guess it's just information. When the story comes in, the story aspect comes in, that's a different kind of video. That's not thought leadership. That's firm overview. That's practice area overview. That's a recruiting video that you really kind of need to talk about themes and concepts, values of your firm. That's when storytelling comes into play versus, a bio video or a thought leadership video that's pretty clean and distinct about a specific topic or a person.
Traditionally, when you hear someone say, hey, I want to make a video for my law firm, you'd think, all right, I'm going to make this commercial. I'm going to go to my local ABC, NBC affiliate and try to get that to air. So what I guess you're a strong proponent of is like, that's the old school method. That's the old way to do it. The new way is thought leadership, and it's much more effective, right?
Correct.
That's at least what I've learned so far from what you said.
I've seen law commercials, even on the subways here in New York City, in the train, and it's like, that's totally irrelevant to me. How many people is that irrelevant to? And you're paying for that, right? If you do a thoughtful approach to video around a specific problem that a customer has, it's digital, you create it for that specific problem, and you create many videos for many different problems. That's the big difference here, right? You're trying to kind of micro target when people go searching for information. And you can track, just like you can with SEO, which keywords are performing better. You can track which questions are being answered, which videos are being clicked on, the performance of such. And then when it comes around to doing videos again, you're so much more informed about what to do. And that's where these types of videos versus an advertising video, is more effective.
Okay, so one last thing. What's the takeaway? What should lawyers remember about producing videos?
I don't know if it's about remembering, but it's about getting started. And every firm, there's 100 lawyers or 1,000 lawyers, they're all different. So they're going to have a different idea of quality, different idea of cadence. One's going to do it once a year, another's going to do it 4 times a year, but get started doing it because video is not going away, and it's still a relatively young marketing tactic that you can get ahead of the game to gain some market share in this area before all of your peers start to do it. And you're not going to be great at it the first time, right? People are really good at talking, but they're not necessarily good at talking in front of the camera. And it is something you need to learn. Right? So get started, learn how to do it, have a plan for what you're going to do with those videos after they're done. That's probably huge as well, right? Like, have a plan. It doesn't have to be as elaborate as we spoke about earlier, but at least have a plan over and above social media and get those videos into the proper channel and do it again.
I think that video should be a part of any marketing mix, even if it's a small one. I mean, just look at podcasts. Podcasts have been around for a while now, and you'd think, why make a podcast, right, like this one? But people still listen to it because it's becoming more and more popular, just like video is a medium that can completely be utilized to gain visibility, brand adoption, awareness, and everything for your law firm. It's just a complete new vehicle to drive awareness of your firm.
Right. And again, you're absolutely right. The podcasts have been around for many years, but it's probably in the last just year and a half or so that they've really, really kind of gained a lot of traction and a lot of budget dollars.
Why don't you tell everyone how they can get in touch with you?
Multivision Digital. That's the best place. Our contact information is at the top of the page, email, phone number, links to our social channels, YouTube. If you go to the tips page there's probably 10 different tips there now. We add to that often. And check out our YouTube channel, subscribe to that, and you get a whole bunch of examples of all different kinds of business video from lawyers, accountants. We're also in manufacturing and some other types of companies here and there.
It looks like the tips page would be very helpful. It looks like you're also presenting almost all of those tip videos. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yep, they're all there, free, download. And these are our thought leadership stuff,
Right.
like what makes up the cost of a video. So it's there to get people informed. And, we've got that set up. And part of our plan is to get on podcast and send this out to, other publications. So they have this there and it's available. And who knows, like this podcast is going to be around for a while. It could be 2 years from now that somebody listens to this podcast, the value of podcasts. Somebody goes to our website, clicks on a link and becomes a lead. Who knows?
Really appreciate coming on.
Thanks so much for your time.
Cool. It was nice to talk to you guys, and I hope whoever's listening gets a lot out of it. Good luck on your video journey.
Thanks for listening to the Legal Mastermind podcast. If you're interested in working with Ryan and Chase, please email mastermind@marketmymarket.com. Make sure to join the free mastermind group for growing and managing your firm at lawfirmmastermind.com. Ryan Klein and Chase Williams are the managing partners at Market My Market, one of the top legal marketing companies in the United States.